Welcome everyone to our Game Changer series. In this CultureBanx Game Changers conversation, solutions to creating an equitable playing field in insurance tech, which is the intersection of insurance and technology, will be challenged as we rethink our wealth monetization strategy. We're going to unpack outdated philosophies and dive into the disruption Insurance Elevated has created by empowering independent agents through cultural interconnectedness. Let's explore, folks, how the rapid advancements in technology have reshaped the insurance landscape by creating more wealth-generating opportunities. And I just want to say, for everyone joining us in the audience today, please know that you are the key to culture, what we do here at CultureBanx, and the path to building Black wealth. So thank you for not only being with us right now, but for joining us in the work ahead. For those who are not familiar, I am Corey Hale, the CEO and co-founder of CultureBanx, but it's time to jump right into our conscious conversation with Eric Bosworth, who is the founder of Insurance Elevated, the fastest growing life and health agency in the country. He's also the founder of Elevated Leads, which is their branded lead company that agents use to utilize to maximize their ROI within their businesses. Eric, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
We're excited to have you. I've already talked with you before, and I know you're a high energy type of guy, and I know the background to your story. But for those who are not familiar, I would love for you to explain what Insurance Elevated is and the unique sector that you guys operate in.
So Insurance Elevated is essentially a life and health, as well as annuities, industry disruptor. And the reason why I say industry disruptor is because we came into the insurance industry as a normal insurance agency, but we decided to do things our way. We decided to focus on the lower to middle class American with simplified issued products where we don't have to jump through hoops such as blood work, urine, saliva in order to get our everyday middle class American approved for life insurance policies, health insurance policies, and simply try to save people money as well as put their money in a safer place, utilizing the benefits of insurance.
Well, you're definitely doing a great job at it, because I know just how big your team is and what you guys have expanded with your new facility in Tampa, and we'll get to all of that. But I want to talk about the broader industry in which you operate in, Eric, because a research firm, IBIS World, reported that the market size just for the life insurance and annuities industry was $1.1 trillion in 2022. How can a company like Insurance Elevated, with its plug-and-play sales system and its advanced CRM insurance solution, really get a large share of this market?
Because social media is the way now. Personal branding is everything. So I knew coming in last year to the market, already seeing that its vast market share, I said, how can we get a piece and how can we get it fast? Well, I seen every other industry was excelling because whoever took the leap of faith first, they decided to build their personal brand first. I mean, if you look at I'll give you one example. Look at Elon Musk, right? You got Tesla that has 9-10 million followers on Instagram, but Elon Musk has a couple 100 million. His personal brand is what has drove that company and that brand to the heights that it has accomplished today. So I decided to do this in the insurance industry. So I put together a small team of agents. We decided to push my personal brand in order to create our lead company that then fed our life and health and annuities company so well that it created that ecosystem. So the way we're doing it in 2023 was we're first of all utilizing artificial intelligence in order to go into our CRMs and help us with creative texting, creative responses, using artificial dialers that can record our calls and go over exactly what we missed on, what objections we didn't handle correctly, and basically try to automate as much of the business as possible before automations kick us out of the business, if that makes sense.
Yes, well, we know automation is coming on fast and heavy with AI, and it's going to put a lot of people out of business. So your approach to this is super exciting and unique. And not only that, I know what you're doing with the agents who work for your company and how they're able to build and own their own book of business. Specifically, though, when I think about the CultureBanx audience, which is heavily skewed towards African Americans, I know that Black families actually have the highest rate of life insurance ownership among all racial groups at 56% compared to 52% for the total US adult population, which is pretty impressive. However, I'm not necessarily sure those are the right products for them, if they're good products, if they really have the education behind these insurance products that they're buying. What do you think are some of the key barriers for people of color in embracing health insurance, life insurance, these annuities that you're talking about, specifically as a way to build wealth for the future?
Well, first off, let's talk about the percentages you just mentioned, right? 56% compared to the overall 52% for the Black community. That's a good thing, by the way. It has scaled up over the years, but it's still not where we wanted to be at, right? The Black and Hispanic communities, they are just now seeing online all of this free value from certain influencers. And that's why I decided to want to become an influencer in the insurance industry to put out as much free value as possible. Before we even started the lead company, Corey, I was just putting out content telling people exactly how to utilize their healthcare, how to get healthcare for free, how to get life insurance as inexpensive as possible, because we were always people over profits. See, some of the barriers are, the Black community, the Hispanic community, they think it's too expensive, or they think that they do have to jump through hoops and they do have to get blood work. They do have to get urine. It takes weeks just to get a quote. No, it does not. It takes 5 minutes to get a quote now. And what most people don't know is they can reach out to an agency like us here at Insurance Elevated and speak to a licensed agent that's licensed in all 50 states, access to over 30 A+ rated carriers, and there's no obligation. They can search within a click of a button 30 different carriers on exactly what's going to be the best for the client on the phone at that time, and show them through a screen share, because we share screens with all of our clients, and build plans for them and with them to where they make the ultimate decision on what's best for them. And that's what separates us from a lot of agencies. First of all, they don't do screen shares. They're going to push a product that maybe that they just sell for that specific company, while we work with all of the companies. So we're not going off of a general, 2 or 3 product placement that one carrier might offer. We're going after everything. Now, is it a lot more complex? Yes. Does it take a lot more time for our agents to get licensed, to get trained? Absolutely. But once they are, we put the power back into the people's hands. And that's what's important. They get to choose with us with our professional recommendation, of course.
I love that. I want to pick up on something that you mentioned, which I think is very important, Eric. You talked about the fact that in the Black and brown community, because there isn't necessarily enough education about what's going on in this industry, that the general assumption is that it's too expensive, right? Like they don't have a few extra, and that's true, right? A few extra hundreds of dollars a month. The average American family, not just a Black American family, doesn't even have $400 in savings for a life emergency. And they think about something like an insurance policy, and they're like, we don't have that sort of discretionary income to put towards it. Specifically, the Black family's net worth in the US is less than 15% of the average white family, according to the Federal Reserve, creating a stark racial wealth gap issue. Can a company like Insurance Elevated be a catalyst, right, to move the needle here? Because ultimately, right, these policies that you're getting, they are to protect you, but they are to protect the future, right, in your family.
It's a selfless act, Corey. Here's the thing, okay, and I'm just going to put this out there. Insurance companies are betting, okay, they are betting on the Black and brown community, even the white community, when they get these policies, not to follow through with the policy. That's how the insurance companies are profitable. They want you to keep the policy for 3 to 4 years and then cancel. That was all net profit for them to be able to pay out on the policies that don't cancel. It is in our best interest in the Black and brown community to keep these policies, to keep them in force, because the insurance companies are betting that we won't. So the number that we talked about earlier, 56% compared to the overall 52%, that's cool, but we need to look at the numbers of Black and brown communities and families that are keeping these policies in force through the full 30-year term that they might get, or 25-year term, or these whole life policies. See, the first thing that we want to cancel is our life insurance policy whenever Christmas comes around or birthdays come around, because it's not tangible, right? We have a phone in our hand. We get insurance on our phone, but we can hold our phone in our hand, so it's tangible. So we think it's worth it to get insurance. Life insurance isn't about, I always ask my clients, Corey, I say, how are you going to feel? Like, Corey, if I asked you, Corey, how are you going to feel when you're dead if you didn't have life insurance? Like, how are you going to feel about your family not being able to live the same lifestyle? Every single time Corey, the client's going to say, well, I'm going to feel bad. I'm like, you're not going to feel anything. You're dead. You need to ask them now, how are they going to feel if they can't continue living the same lifestyle because you're dead, your income's gone. So they need to put that in their head and they need to reprocess that and emotionally connect to what life insurance can do if you actually keep the policy in force long after you actually purchase the policy, because that's what matters. I can't tell you how many times I've had families reach out to me because they found my business card in the breadwinner's phone who died, and I had to give them the bearer of bad. I had to be the bearer of bad news and say, well, you know, unfortunately, they got a policy through us. We kept up with them, but they ended up lapsing on their payment. And even though they were lapsed, because they didn't make that payment, they weren't current, the insurance company's not going to pay out. Cannot tell you how many times. So that's what we need to focus on, how long we actually keep the policies in force.
That's some good food for thought and some additional research that definitely should be done on that, because at the end of the day, if you're not able to benefit right from the policy that anybody initially signed up for to protect themselves, to protect your future going forward, then it isn't very profitable for the family. But I love what you're doing at Insurance Elevated. And I actually want to dig in a little bit deeper with your company, because Eric, I did read that you all are going to be partnering with a Fortune 500 company in a $100 million acquisition deal later this year. If this holds true, what are the strategic outcomes you're looking to achieve from this deal?
So it's definitely going to hold true because I'm speaking it into existence. We have already turned down.
Speak it into existence.
We're speaking it into existence, and that's where the $100 million number came from based on our projections. And this was 3 or 4 months ago. If we stay on the same continued growth as we were as of 3 months ago, which we are, then we could very well be looking at $100 to $200 million deal with all of the companies combined, the health, the life, the lead company, everything included. And we've already turned down an 8-figure deal on both sides. You know, I can't disclose the exact number, but it's true. And you know, I could have easily walked away from this, but the purpose is much larger than the money. See, money was important, Corey, when I didn't have any. I have money now. What's important is how many people.
I think most people feel that way. It's very important to them.
It is. But once you get it, it's like, okay, the nice cars are cool, the watches are cool, the jewelry's cool, but how many people are you putting in a position to win? And that's both on the client side and with us at Insurance Elevated on the agent side. So we're just as focused on taking care of the client as we are recruiting and putting people onto this incredible opportunity, which we hire in all 50 states. So we can help any agent come on board, and then they can help any client within the entire United States. So it's double there. So what we're looking, and the reason why we're looking at a strategic partnership is because, let's face it, artificial intelligence is coming. We do not have the capital. I do not have the capital or the resources, such as a private equity firm, that's going to be able to partner with me and with us and all of our thousands of agents, hopefully, that we have at the time, and be able to continue to grow and scale. I just don't have the money to do that myself and by myself. But partnered with a private equity firm with that type of capital, we can then utilize artificial intelligence and let it learn our business and allow us to partner with it rather than it taking our jobs. That's simply what we want to partner for. And let me make this clear. A lot of people seen this. They've seen the articles. There's been a lot of talk about Insurance Elevated selling. We're not selling. It is a strategic partnership. That verbiage is very important. Headlines like to change it up a little bit, but the reason why the partnership is important is because I have to stay on as CEO for 3 to 5 years, even after the partnership. It's kind of like an NFL contract. You have an athlete that gets a guaranteed amount of money, but then in order for them to get the rest of what they were offered, they have to fulfill these seasons. They have to play well, just like I have to play well. Our agents have to play well, and we have to continue growing within the ecosystem.
I love that. And that was such a great explanation. Can I just drill down into one thing? I'd love for you to give our audience some examples, specifically when it's focused on the agents, right? And building up their book of business, their portfolio. Are there any specific agents within your organization at Insurance Elevated that you've really seen be able to take off?
So actually a few. So within Insurance Elevated, I've done this very differently. See, there's a lot of people that want to see you do well in the insurance industry, but never better than them. I've always had the opposite mindset. I feel like ultimately in the long run, Your legacy is what matters. Your dynasty is what I tried to take it even further. Like I'm trying to create a dynasty. So the way you do that is, yes, we have Insurance Elevated, but we actually have brands within our umbrella organization that are now building and fully uncaptive, mean they own their entire book of business on the health and life side, so they can partner with a private equity firm themselves with their profitability, their EBITDA, in a sense. So we have Financially Fluent with Drake Sanders and Elijah Goins, that they tailor everything that they do to the Black community, because that's what they're big on. Their ads, everything, and they're focused on that. I focus a lot on the Black and brown. We have Aluna Health. We have For Your Wealth. We have a few different. We have Empowered. We have Legacy Insurance. So we have a few different brands now that we're building, that now I'm acting more as a consultant. I gave them a lot higher compensation based on their volume, where I take a small percentage, but then they have me as a coach consultant to then lift them up, build their brand, where they can then leverage our leads, our systems, our processes, everything with their new agents, until they're now large enough where they're producing enough leads in order to feed all of their agents, and then build and scale the same way we were able to at Insurance Elevated. So we're not a one-trick pony. I'm not dictating everyone to just push Insurance Elevated. I tell them, use it as a leverage and as a stepping stool in order to eventually build your own business and become as powerful as myself, if not more powerful. Because at the end of the day, when I'm sitting around a table with a bunch of multimillionaires and they're all telling me what their net worth is, I'm going to be able to say, well, I showed 100 people how to make $1 million or more in a year. That's my ultimate purpose. That's my ultimate bragging right. So everybody can talk about money all day long, but do you really have integrity? Like, did you really change at least a small part of the world? Right. Tell me what you really did. So that's, we're strength in numbers. I'd rather make $1 off 10 million people than, make $1 million off 10 people and let them starve. That's just not the way it works around here.
No, I love that. All right, Eric, we're down to our last question for the discussion right here, because I felt you kind of bringing up, your purpose, your true passion in life, which is, of course, helping others achieve their highest level of success. But with that in mind, what keeps you optimistic about the potential for your company and the sector in which you operate in, which was not necessarily always looked upon so favorably in underserved communities?
Because there was a lot of holes. I seen the holes in it. I seen that we weren't serving the communities that actually needed the power of insurance. And what I noticed is, especially in the Black community, a lot of people, first of all, they don't have the education, because people aren't putting out free value on it. They want to keep it a secret or something, which I have no idea why. But also, they don't even feel like they have access to it, or they aren't privileged to it, or that it's inexpensive enough to get it. Like, there are policies as low as $10, $15, $20 a month. What I tell everybody is, start somewhere, Corey. Anybody can afford $10, $20 a month. Any family right now that we speak to can go in their bank account and see 2 or 3 subscriptions that they're paying for, that they didn't even know that they were paying for, cancel them, and be able to get a life insurance policy. And here's the thing, the younger you start, the healthier you are, the more inexpensive it is. And when you start somewhere and you get a simplified issued life insurance product, meaning no blood work, no nothing, all they do is take a look at your medical history, which is called your MIB report. It's kind of like your credit report, but for your health, right? You get in, and once you're in, you're in. So let's say you develop some type of cancer, some type of devastating disease. It doesn't matter what it is. Once you have the policy, you are in, you are set. They can never kick you off. The problem is, people wait until they're either too unhealthy or they're dead. And that's just the simple fact of it, because they don't have enough education on it, because they are not holding themselves accountable on learning it as well. Let's just call it like it is. I didn't know what an index universal life insurance policy was, or how it grew cash value, or how beneficial it actually was for myself, until I was 29 years old. I'm 32 now. So I blame myself. I blame my peers around me, but I also, I blame the higher ups that have kept these policies and the way these work a secret for so long, because it's not that difficult to understand. Once you get on the phone with one of us and we break down illustrations showing you how to utilize your life insurance while you're living, and how inexpensive it is to start, it's almost a no-brainer if done right. There are agents out there that will build these policies to pad their commissions. I've seen it happen. It's called a poorly funded cash value policy rather than a maximum funded cash value policy. So when we share our screen, we build it together. We show the differences to these families, and then they're able to choose for themselves, and they see with their own eyes how valuable these products really are and how they can work in the long run for their families. Oh, I think
I'm
you're
on
muted.
mute. Nope, sorry, I was on mute there.
Nope,
Speaking of
nope.
being able to get connected to the agents at Insurance Elevated, how exactly can people go about doing that?
So yeah, so essentially we have my personal Instagram at It's Elevated Eric. We have our business Instagram at insurance.elevated. We have insuranceelevated.us. That's our website. You can look up on Facebook, Insurance Elevated. Google Insurance Elevated. We have over 200 reviews on Google, 200 reviews on Facebook. We have over 150 videos that they can just go and watch. And after they watch all of those videos, they can then decide for themselves, okay, is this the right company to do business with? But at the very minimum, 5 minutes of looking at our videos on at insurance.elevated on Instagram or Insurance Elevated on Facebook, they're going to be that much more knowledgeable than they ever have been the previous years of their life. So at minimum, at least do that. And then from there, decide whether it's not to get on the phone with. We're not pushy salespeople. We're no obligation, risk-free. And it's even, and all of these policies are non-contractual. You get into something, you want to change it, you want to do something different, get with a different carrier, we can always change. We always do 6 to 12 month policy reviews and make sure that our clients are in the best position possible year after year.
All right. Well, Eric, I can't thank you enough for sharing about Insurance Elevated, helping to educate us, our audience, on the broader insurance industry. And since I still have you for a few more minutes, it is time to get into our rapid fire section. It's just a quick opportunity to let our audience get to know you better as an entrepreneur. So, Eric, are you ready?
Ready as I'll ever be, Corey.
Okay. The first question, and by the way, just whatever's the first thing that comes to your mind, just throw it out there. So question number 1, what motivates you to keep going and why?
People. I love people. You know, you always hear those things on social media. Oh, dogs over people. No, we need to love our people. We need to love our neighbor. We need to take care of people. The reason why there's a lack of education, because there's a lack of communication, there's a lack of comprehension. So we're trying to change that now. So people over everything, people over profits, people are the source of everything. And our kids are our future. So we need to focus.
I love that. Question number 2, what are 3 skills people need to become a successful entrepreneur?
Discipline. You got to have discipline. You have to be relentless. You have to be relentless in your pursuit to freedom, to happiness, to what you feel. And sometimes happiness isn't going to come until you do what you don't want to do. So I have a saying, do more than what you're paid for now, and you'll eventually be paid for more than what you do. Okay. Wow. So definitely relentless is the second one. And the last one is, I can say, execution. People I see can work 12, 13 hours a day and they're lollygagging half the day. They're on social media. They're scrolling endlessly with no strategic way about it. And social media is everything right now. So I feel like execution on the task at hand.
Okay. I love that. Next question. What time of day are you most productive?
5 to 9 p.m. Okay. 5 to 9 p.m. We call that prime time in the insurance industry. Why? Because that's when people are off of work. They're answering their phones. They're answering their text messages, and we can help families. That is when I'm most productive. That is when my mind goes into help mode. And I know that our contact rate is going to be at the highest possible rate it can be at, between 5 and 9 p.m. Eastern. And then we always switch to Western time and work even later.
Okay. What is the one app that you can't live without?
The one app that I can't live without as of right now is Instagram. It gets the most engagement. I get the most, DMs of people that simply either want to work with us or need help with their life insurance, or just need help with answers, with questions being answered. And I answer all of my own DMs still, even though I have a social media team, a content team. I have assistants, I have administrative assistants, I have everything you can think of for people to take stuff off my hands. But when it comes to that direct communication, I will never stop communicating. And on Instagram right now, I feel like I'm bringing the most value and I get the most value back. All
right. Well, what would you say is the one book that changed your life?
Relentless by Tim Grover.
Okay, Relentless by Tim Grover. This is our final rapid fire question. The people have to know, what song is currently on repeat on your playlist?
Oh man, do I really got to mention that?
Yes, this is CultureBanx. This is what we do. We cover business news for hip hop culture.
It's essentially one song and one verse, but it's Future. Turn your click up. I'm sorry, but that's the song. Every time I post something on Instagram on my story, I'm putting that song on. It's just I love right now. I can't help the music that I like, but I grew up, you know, with a very very cultured atmosphere. You know, I used to sell bootleg Air Forces. I used to cut hair. I used to cut everybody's hair on the street. Like, I used to sell candy in high school. I used to listen to rap. I used to rap myself, believe it or not. And I used to write poetry. So it's just, I like all genres of music, but Future, till you'll click up right now.
That's the current song that's on repeat on his
That's the
playlist.
song that's on repeat. Yes, ma'am.
Eric, thank you so much for joining us in this session and sharing your insights. We greatly appreciate it. And to everyone watching, I just want you guys to know we are going to continue bringing you super dope CultureBanx game changers who are definitely disrupting different sectors. So stay tuned to the website and, of course, to our newsletter and social media for when the next game changer session will be coming your way. Thanks so much, everyone.